So the first teaser trailer for Shrek 5 just dropped recently, and given how long we have been waiting for this movie, and how unanimously beloved the Shrek series is, both ironically and unironically, it's quite surprising looking at how polarizing this teaser's reception has been. And it's all for one simple reason. The characters look different. Now the teaser is extremely short, it's not even 30 seconds long, but it has already taken the internet by storm, not for the reasons one would expect given that this is a Shrek 5 after all. We all know how much the internet loves Shrek. One will notice the characters look a lot more cartoony when compared to in the original movies. You primarily notice this with Donkey. Donkey looks significantly more cartoony when compared to in the original movies. It's not as noticeable for Shrek or Fiona. I mean, okay, yeah, you could tell like something is different with them compared to their original designs, but you can't exactly pinpoint what it is that's different. But Donkey, it's a lot more obvious. Yeah, they changed something about his design. It looks a lot more cartoony. I've seen people compare it to Illumination. I've seen people say they turned Shrek into an Illumination character instead of a DreamWorks character, and you know, I could kind of see it, but more than anything else, it kind of reminds me of Madagascar. It reminds me of the very cartoony art style that Madagascar has. The redesign for these characters is kind of bad in a way, in the aspect that, like, the whole point of Shrek, at least the first movie, is that Shrek is supposed to be a parody of fairy tales. It's meant to be the anti-Disney, and one of the ways it parodies fairy tales, it parodies Disney, whatever, is from its art style. You watch a Disney movie and it's like every character, just everything is cartoony and cutesy looking and whatever. And then you look at Shrek and it's like the characters are like kind of off looking, like they look more realistic in comparison. I don't know how to describe it. For lack of a better word, it looks ugly. But it's like deliberately ugly. I'm not saying it looks ugly as like a negative thing. They deliberately made this movie look kind of not appealing to add to the whole like parody anti-Disney thing. So it feels weird to see that completely gone in this new trailer and just having the characters just look like Disney characters. Donkey was supposed to be a parody of the cute animal sidekick that a lot of Disney movies have, and now he just looks like one of those cute animal sidekicks. He has become what he was supposed to parody, visually at least. I've seen some people defend the art style, saying that, like, you know, it makes sense because the characters have aged, they're older now, as evident by the fact that in the third and fourth Shrek movies, Shrek has babies. And in this trailer, we see a new character, a teenage daughter, but I'll get into that later on into the video. I've also seen people defend the redesigns, claiming that this is part of the animation improving since 2010 when we got the last Shrek movie, not counting the Puss in Boots duology. Remember, Shrek Forever After came out all the way back in 2010. Shrek Forever After turns 15 this year. This movie comes out at the very end of 2026. A lot has changed in the time between when it comes to 3D animation. At the same time though, I feel like that's not really a good reason to redesign the characters. Just looking at the first 4 Shrek movies themselves, you can already tell there is an upgrade in animation quality as the movies go on, as a result of the technology improving with each movie, but the character designs still look exactly the same as they did in the first movie. You look at the first Shrek movie from 2001 and then you compare it to Shrek Forever After from 2010, and yeah, there is a very obvious upgrade in animation quality. The first Shrek came out during a time when 3D animation was still this kind of new experimental thing. It wasn't exactly the norm yet. Toy Story might have been the first 3D animated movie, but Shrek was arguably the movie that made 3D animation the norm. And then by the time Shrek Forever After came out, 3D animation had already long become the norm. And yet, despite the very noticeable upgrade in animation quality, given how much the technology improved between 2001 and 2010, the designs still look the same. It still has that kind of like realistic look that the first Shrek movie had. I don't know how much sense this is gonna make. This probably is a hot take. I don't know if it is a hot take or not, but I feel like the difference between 3D animation in 2010 versus 3D animation in 2026 isn't as big as the difference between 3D animation in 2001 versus 3D animation in 2010. You look at the animated movies that came out in 2010, How to Train Your Dragon, Toy Story 3, Megamind, it's like they still have amazing looking animation. By that point, the quality of the 3D animation had already been perfected. You watch something like Jimmy Neutron, and it's like Jimmy Neutron came out in 2001, and it very much shows. Megamind came out in 2010, and it feels like it could have come out this year in 2025. At no point do you look at the movie's animation and think, yeah, this came out in 2010 and it shows. I don't know, I feel like it's kind of weak to justify the redesigns by claiming that the animation improved, things changed, like the technology for 3D animation improved in the time between 2010 and 2026. I don't know, I just feel like that's kind of a weak excuse, especially given the fact that there was already an animation upgrade in of itself between the first Shrek in 2001 and a Shrek Forever After in 2010. I also feel like the inconsistent animation style will be a problem. The first 4 Shrek movies and the first Puss in Boots from 2011 all share the same animation style. And then Puss in Boots The Last Wish from 2022, as we all know, had a radically different animation style. Said animation style is one of the reasons why Puss in Boots The Last Wish has become one of the most acclaimed animated movies in recent times. The post-credits scene for Puss in Boots The Last Wish teases Shrek 5, and naturally that led people to believe that Shrek 5 could have the same animation style that Puss in Boots The Last Wish had, and as you can see, that is very clearly not the case. I feel like this is a more trivial thing to complain about in comparison, but I also think it's worth bringing it up anyways. You have 5 movies that all share the same animation style, and then you have 2 movies that each have completely different animation styles, and it's not really consistent. Then again, I've always felt that the flashy kind of animation style that Puss in Boots The Last Wish had, it wouldn't really work as well for Shrek 5, given the fact that Puss in Boots is a much more action-oriented character when compared to Shrek himself. And so the flashy, stylized animation that Puss in Boots The Last Wish has, it probably wouldn't fit as well for Shrek in comparison, but I don't know, this is just the way that I look at it. I will not deny there is something a little bit off about the redesigns. I've seen people compare it to AI, and well, okay, it's definitely not on that level, let's not go there, but it kind of has the same sort of like, I guess, slightly uncanny valley feel, where it's something that people are familiar with. It's something that looks familiar to a lot of people, but there's just something about it that's off, something about it that's different. As I mentioned before, like you look at Shrek's redesign, it's like something about it is just a tiny bit off. Like it's obviously Shrek, but there is something different about it, but you can't exactly pinpoint what it is that's different. As I mentioned before, the difference between Donkey's design is a lot more obvious, but although the movie's obviously not going to be animated with AI, and I don't think the redesigns are that bad to the point where I would claim that they were made with AI, these designs do kind of retain that like slightly off uncanny valley nature, where it's something that people are familiar with. These are characters that people are familiar with. You could close your eyes and think of these characters, and you could perfectly envision what they look like, and then you see them here, and it's just something looks a little bit different, something looks a little bit off, but you can't exactly tell what it is. That being said though, I would be willing to let the redesigns slide. Ultimately, I am mostly neutral towards the redesigns. I've seen people compare this to Ugly Sonic, and it's like, come on bro, no, we're not doing that, okay? I understand doing this for the Minecraft movie, but like, this is nowhere near as bad as Ugly Sonic. This doesn't even come close to being as bad as Ugly Sonic. You can dislike like the redesigns. That's perfectly fine. I can understand that. I understand, seeing these iconic characters come back, but then there's like something different about them that you don't like. It's perfectly fine to dislike these redesigns, but they're not Ugly Sonic tier, okay? They are not on par with like the Minecraft movie or Ugly Sonic. They're not on that level, y'all. They're not on that level. But overall, I'm just kind of whatever towards the redesigns, and I feel like most people would be okay with the redesigns. Most people would let the redesigns slide under one condition: the movie is still good. Yes, it does kind of suck seeing these characters have a more generically cartoony look to them, but, if the movie still retains a lot of what made the first two Shrek movies good, if it retains the non-art style related things that made Puss in Boots: The Last Wish good, then I'd say, you know what, it's perfectly fine. I would let it slide. I want to imagine a lot of people would let it slide as well. The one thing I hope for with this movie, and I've gone on before saying this ever since this movie was first announced, but this is something that I genuinely hope never happens with this movie. I can let the redesign slide, but what I will not let slide is if the movie just ends up being complete nostalgia bait. The movie is just nothing but references and throwbacks to the older movies. No, that's not what I want. And I want to imagine that's not what anyone would want with Shrek 5. Imagine you have this long-anticipated, highly demanded sequel to your flagship franchise, and the hype for this movie becomes even stronger than it should be due to how good of a movie Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was. And then the movie finally comes out, and people go and see it, and then the movie just throws you with crap like, somehow Lord Farquaad returned. Like, nah. We ain't wait 16 years for that. I'm sorry. The wait was not f***ing worth it. I want this movie to do something new. I want it to do something fresh. I want it to do something to help, make it feel justified. Something to help justify the existence of this movie. Something to help justify bringing back this long dormant franchise. Something to help make that 16-year wait worth it. I'm sorry, but I'm not waiting 16 damn years for this movie just for it to be full of nostalgia bait, member berries, stuff like that. The wait would not be worth it, okay? The wait would not be worth it. As I mentioned before, the trailer shows off a new character, a teenage daughter for Shrek. As I mentioned before, in the third and fourth movies, Shrek has a family. Shrek has babies. And given the amount of time that has passed between Shrek Forever After and Shrek 5, I suppose it only makes sense to have the characters age older, which could kind of explain the redesigns, but I don't know. And now Shrek's children are all grown up. And now we have a new character who's voiced by Zendaya. If she isn't a part of this club already, I feel like very soon Zendaya will be part of that club of actors and actresses that are just seemingly in every single movie that comes out nowadays. You know how people joke about how Chris Pratt is in every movie nowadays, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is in every movie nowadays, Awkwafina's in every movie nowadays. Yeah, I kind of have a feeling Zendaya is going to be part of that club real soon, if she isn't a part of it already. She has 4 big movies that she's going to be in 2026 alone. In addition to Shrek 5, she's also going to be in Spider-Man 4, she's going to be in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and she's going to be in Dune 3. That's assuming Dune 3 comes out in 2026 and it isn't delayed to 2027, which that could happen for all we know. 2026 already feels like a very cluttered year for big, notable movies, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of these movies ended up getting delayed to 2027. I know the whole debate of celebrity voice actors in animated movies has become like kind of a controversial thing. If I remember correctly, Zendaya played Lola Bunny in that Space Jam sequel that came out a few years ago. Remember that? Yeah, that was a thing that happened. And there was like a controversy surrounding that, having this character that was previously not played by a celebrity now be voiced by a celebrity. I feel like that argument wouldn't work as well for Shrek, given the fact that Shrek has celebrity voice actors, Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, these aren't small, obscure names. These are big names. Granted, both Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy had career-ending movies in the late 2000s, and Cameron Diaz went into retirement in the mid-2010s only to come back, I believe, this year. But still, these are big, notable celebrity names. Didn't the third movie have Justin Timberlake in it? I don't remember. How was that any different than this, honestly? Oh yeah, the trailer also includes like a TikTok parody, because of course, why not? On the one hand, yes, the Shrek series has always made pop culture references. Let's not forget Shrek 2 had a parody of the, at the time, popular American Idol, but even taking that into consideration, that doesn't make this any less cringy. It seems that the movie, or at least the marketing for this movie, is now self-aware of the meme-like cult following that Shrek has garnered. They're finally self-aware of the ironic Shrek is the best anime ever made memes from like 2013 or so, which is crazy to me given the fact that those memes are long irrelevant in 2025. You think about those like dank MLG, Shrek is love, Shrek is life, Shrek is the best anime ever made, SFMs and whatever. Yeah, it seems that they're now finally aware of that stuff. That stuff is now officially canon in the Shrek universe, long after it was a popular, relevant meme. This stuff that has aged really badly, I'm sorry, and stands as proof that yes indeed, we, Gen Z, we had brain rot as well. This was our skibbity toilet. We don't like to admit it, but it's the truth. As we all know, when a brand becomes self-aware about a meme, the meme is no longer funny. That's just simply how it works. I cannot think of a single instance where that isn't the case. To be fair though, the whole Shrek is dank, MLG swag, whatever, that just kind of died around like the late 2010s, very early 2020s. When you look at the different eras of memes, and God, I feel so stupid for bringing this up, the different eras of memes, and the whole Shrek is the best anime ever made stuff was mostly around like the mid to late 2010s, 2013 to I want to say 2018. Then again though, this is only in the marketing for the movie. For all we know, nothing like this is in the actual movie, so who knows how things will turn out. But yeah, I just wanted to make this quick video going over my thoughts on Shrek 5. I don't know what to make of this. I just kind of wanted to talk about like the discourse surrounding it and give my thoughts on it, as well as briefly give out my thoughts on what I hope to see from this movie. Again, we still know next to nothing about this movie, so I can't make a guess on like if the movie's gonna be good, if it's gonna be bad. We have no way of knowing. DreamWorks is usually the GOAT when it comes to animated sequels, but I don't know how this could turn out. Let's not forget about Kung Fu Panda 4, folks. Let's not forget about Kung Fu Panda 4. If Kung Fu Panda 4 didn't end up being good, then why the f would I expect Shrek 5 to be good? Honestly. Okay, so of the big four DreamWorks franchises, How to Train Your Dragon is getting a live-action remake that nobody asked for. Kung Fu Panda got a really bad fourth installment. Shrek is getting a fifth installment that who knows how that'll turn out. And Madagascar remains completely untouched. Hell yeah, baby.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Adios.